Hello, I'm Brian Fox. Welcome to I Hate Rock Music. And this video is going to be a little different than a lot of the just single album reviews I've been doing recently. If you go back through my catalog of over 300 videos now, I do have a lot of videos like this where I talk about broader topics and interesting moments and could have beens and great lost rock albums and things like that. In this video, I want to talk about the fact that it's really a shame that Bob Ezrin didn't produce Alice Cooper Group's final album with the original band, and he almost did. And so that's going to be the topic of the video today. So I know by the point they recorded Muscle of Love, there was a lot of tension in the band, and the band kind of wanted to just be a regular rock and roll band and kind of play down the theatrics. And Alice, of course, wanted to continue to pursue theatrics as a huge component of what he did, which of course he did when he did the "Welcome to My Nightmare," his first solo record, and the live presentation being pretty extravagant, including a TV special. So I need to establish right off the bat, though, I love the Muscle of Love album. For me, it's pretty much the only overall disappointing album by the original Alice Cooper group. And I will always love it because I love the original Alice Cooper group so much. But this album would have been considerably better, uh, exponentially better, if Bob Ezrin had produced it. And he was brought in initially, but apparently they had were knocking heads with Bob Ezrin, the band, and Michael Bruce and Bob Ezrin were particularly bumping heads on the fact that Michael Bruce wanted the production of Woman Machine to be what he wanted it to be in the arrangement, and Bob Ezrin had some different ideas about it. And I think it's really important to remember that Bob Ezrin had a lot to do with all the great Alice Cooper albums. He produced all the great Alice Cooper albums, and his input obviously paid off because there's a lot of imagination and creativity and great recording techniques and ideas about arrangements and everything that he contributed. And I don't always think producers should get in there and muck about too much, but with a lot of producers like George Martin, for example, they can really be a fifth member of the band. And I think Bob Ezrin was definitely a fifth member of Alice Cooper. Well, a sixth member. And when I get into the album Muscle of Love, I think that overall the material is good. Um, and I think with a different production, the material on there that seems a little lackluster could have been a lot better. So I think Bob Ezrin's contributions there would have been invaluable. And I also understand too that one of the reasons Muscle of Love sounds the way it does is Mick Mashbeer and Dick Wagner were brought in on guitars, and Glenn Buxton, his name appears on the record, but he was not allowed in the studio, so he didn't play anything on the Muscle of Love album, and that kind of explains a lot. And a lot of the elements that were in the Billion Dollar Babies record are present in this record as well. I mean, when I look at the song lineup, the kind of feel and flow and tangents that Billion Dollar Babies goes off in, we find similar dynamics on the Muscle of Love album. And not only that, you have the guest guitar players, which was another feature of the Billion Dollar Babies record. And then backup singers were Liza Minnelli, LaBelle, Ronnie Spector, and the Pointer Sisters were brought in to work particularly on the Man with the Golden Gun. So that's another thing that's similar to the Billion Dollar Babies record. But overall, I think Bob Ezrin would have made this record incredibly stronger because when I listen to Muscle Love, it has a really cardboard box kind of a drum sound. And I also understand that they brought in a session drummer, Alan Schwarzenberg. I think he's the same guy that worked on a couple of those posthumous Jimi Hendrix records where they brought in studio musicians. I'm pretty sure that's the same drummer. But he was brought in to contribute to some of these songs. But The drum sound is really lackluster and sounds like a cardboard box. And one of the things that marked Bob Ezrin's productions for the Alice Cooper albums was a killer drum sound. And the same goes with guitars. Bob Ezrin got really great guitar sounds, and he chose different kinds of guitar sounds and worked with the band to have a really different guitar sound, going from Love It to Death, going to Killer, going to School's Out, going to Billion Dollar Babies. But they were always really great guitar sounds, and the guitar sounds were very powerful and right up front. And that's another thing that's lacking in the Muscle of Love album. The guitars are really anemic. It's not so much the parts themselves are not that good. It's just the way they were recorded, and they just lack the presence and power that Bob Ezrin gave the band. So when you go through uh, the record, you notice those, and then the fact that even Alice Cooper's singing, maybe his heart wasn't in it, but his singing overall is strong and great performances throughout the record. But again, the vocal performances are a little anemic, and so apparently, the band wasn't that on fire going into do this record. And again, Bob Ezrin would be somebody that could really motivate people and bring out the best. And then when you go through the songs, like I say, Big Apple Dreamin' is a great song, great Alice Cooper song. Just needed the drums powerful and up front, and just needed a lot more of a upfront guitar mix with the guitar tones a little more dramatic. Never been sold before is a pretty decent rocker. Again, just nice, more powerful drums and great guitar parts right up front. Would have been excellent. Hard Hearted Alice, I think, is a gorgeous ballad. A little overblown in some respects. I wish that they'd just stuck more to the original band and not so much with the big production backup singers. And then Crazy Little Child is another one that is a nice little jazzy production number with Alice Cooper, but I think Bob Ezrin would have guided them to have that more integrated with the actual rock band. So I love Crazy Little Child, but it would have been a nice um, addition to have the band be integrated so that it sounds like an Alice Cooper band record. But once again, I can imagine that they were working separately and to a certain extent on this record. Alice would be really into doing Crazy Little Child and probably didn't have any feelings one way or another about the band playing on it. So then you get to side two, and once again, it's really strong. Working Up a Sweat uh, is basically a pretty cool song, but just the anemic drums, cardboard drums, and the toned down guitar tones um, just could have made this song a real strong one. As it is, it's okay. Same thing with Muscle of Love. Muscle of Love would have been a nice sequel to the song Billion Dollar Babies. It kind of has a punchy, powerful feel to it. And one reason we know this record could have been better too is because the Muscle of Love rehearsals are out there, and you can really tell it's the Alice Cooper band, and you can see the potential for what a lot of this material could have been if it had been treated different and Bob Ezrin had produced it. Then we get into the big epic Man with the Golden Gun, which is another one where apparently Alice recorded it, wanted it submitted for a James Bond film. And of course, we know he's a culture freak and wanted to do a James Bond thing, and it kind of ties with, uh, the West Side Story references on Schools Out, and even things like Unfinished Suite and some of these grandiose cinematic productions that the Alice Cooper group could do. So that's a nice addition too. That once again, all the elements are in there. There's strings and horns and backup singers and interesting keyboard parts. All the elements that Bob Ezrin could have worked with, but he just would have made them work a lot better and sound a lot better. And then you get into Teenage Lament '74, classic Alice Cooper ballad, incredible melody, wonderful song. Again, if it had been given the treatment of some of the nice ballads on Billion Dollar Babies, it would just be that much stronger. And then finishing up with Woman Machine, and I would really like to hear what Bob Ezrin's ideas were for arranging that song, but the version we have is the way that Michael Bruce wanted it. And again, I think it's a great hard rock song, but again, with a bigger drum sound and some really uh, bright, uh, in your face guitar parts with some really nice guitar textures and tones. Woman Machine could have been a lot better. So that's my video. I as I mentioned in the beginning, I'm a diehard original Alice Cooper group fan. I love them. For me, they're right up there with all the greats, and one of the all-time great American rock bands. And I think all the original albums, including those first two kind of psychedelic records, are all just wonderful classics. You just really can't do any better as far as imagination and creativity, and the interaction between the band members was just magic. It was just a great chemistry, and I really lament the fact that Bob Ezrin didn't produce this last album. It would have been a nice addition to their legacy to finish out with Bob Ezrin and have a record that really sounded more akin to all the other Alice Cooper band records. And so the only reason I think, and this is a big vote of confidence, the only reason I think this record lacks in the Alice Cooper catalog is precisely because Bob Ezrin didn't produce it, and they deserved better. And I wish they could have hashed out their differences. So anyway, I just have to imagine what the record would have sounded like if Bob Ezrin produced it. But that said, it is more or less the original Alice Cooper group and well worth having, even in their last gasp. So anyway, there you have it. Bob Ezrin, goddammit. He should have produced Muscle of Love if there was anything right in the world. I'm Brian Fox. Thanks for watching I Hate Rock Music.